A 15-year-old boy looks his mother in the eye and says, "The Virgin Mary is the only woman in my life." His mother freezes, because she knows something nobody else at that table knows. In exactly 1 year, she'll watch this same boy die in a hospital bed. And 7 years after that, a 4-year-old in Brazil will be instantly healed of an incurable disease. On the exact date Carlo predicted, with the exact name he spoke. But right now, sitting at this dinner table, Antonia Acutis is staring at her teenage son, trying to understand what he just said. What does a 15-year-old boy mean when he says Mary is the only woman in his life? Is this religious extremism? Is this unhealthy? Is her son rejecting the idea of love, of marriage, of normal relationships? She doesn't know it yet, but those 10 words hold the key to everything. To why Carlo could predict miracles years before they happened, to why he could face death with a smile, to why the Vatican would investigate his life for decades and declare him a saint, to why thousands of young people now make pilgrimages to see his body in Assisi. But to understand why Mary had to be the only woman in his life, you need to see where it started, because the answer begins in a way that terrified Antonia long before she had any idea what it meant. It begins with a 3-year-old boy who recognized someone he'd never been taught about. Someone who, according to him, had been waiting for him his entire life. And what happened on that sidewalk in Milan would set in motion a 15-year preparation for a mission that wouldn't end with death. Milan, 1994. Antonia is walking with her 3-year-old son down a normal street on a normal afternoon. The Acutis family has just moved from London. They're not religious people. Andrea, Carlo's father, is a businessman focused on work. Antonia herself rarely thinks about faith. They want a secular, normal life for their son. Then Carlo stops, just stops dead on the sidewalk. His eyes lock on a building, a church, and there's something in his face that makes Antonia's stomach tighten. It's not curiosity, it's recognition. Like he's seeing someone he's been waiting for his entire short life. "Mama, please, can we go inside?" The urgency in his voice unsettles her. Antonia hesitates because this isn't normal. 3-year-olds don't beg to enter churches. But Carlo is pulling her hand like something inside that building is calling him. She relents. They walk in. What happens next will repeat itself dozens of times over the next 2 years. Carlo doesn't explore the church, doesn't look at the candles or the paintings or the other children. He walks straight across the sanctuary, ignoring everything in his path, and stops in front of a statue of the Virgin Mary. He just stands there, staring up at her face. And then tears start pouring down his cheeks. "Carlo, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" He doesn't answer, doesn't even look at her. His eyes are locked on the statue, and he's crying like he's seeing someone he knows, someone he's missed. Antonia bends down, touches his shoulder, and that's when he whispers the words that will haunt her for years. "She knows me, Mama. She's been waiting for me." A 3-year-old who has never been to church, never been taught about Mary, never been told who she is or what she represents, speaking about a stone statue like it's a living person, like it's someone real who has been expecting him. Antonia tries to laugh it off. Children have vivid imaginations, they see things adults don't, but then it happens again the next week, and the week after that. Every church they pass, Carlo stops, points, begs to go inside, and every time the same behavior, straight to Mary's statue, tears streaming, standing motionless for 20 minutes, sometimes 30. Other visitors start to stare. Antonia becomes embarrassed. She tries to pull him away, but Carlo won't budge. His feet might as well be glued to the floor. And during the canonization investigation years later, Antonia will tell church officials something that still gives her chills. "I felt like someone else was in those churches with us, someone I couldn't see, someone who had my son's complete attention, someone who was teaching him something I wasn't meant to understand." Not yet. By age 5, Carlo starts talking to empty air. Antonia will walk past his room and hear him having full conversations with someone who isn't there. When she asks who he's talking to, Carlo just smiles. She says, "I'm not ready to tell you yet, Mama." Not ready. That phrase again. Ready for what? What is this invisible woman preparing her 5-year-old son for? Antonia doesn't know, but a pattern is emerging. Mary isn't just appearing to Carlo, she's training him, systematically, for something specific, something that requires absolute trust and complete devotion. But why would a child need this kind of training? What mission could possibly require such intense preparation? The answer is coming, but first you need to see what Mary teaches him. Because at age 7, the training intensifies. One morning when Carlo is 7, Antonia walks into his room and stops cold. Her son is sitting on his bed with a rosary in his hands. She didn't give it to him, didn't teach him how to use it. But there he is, beads moving through his small fingers, lips moving in prayer like someone has taught him every word, every rhythm, every mystery. "Carlo, where did you learn to pray the rosary?" He looks up at her with those eyes that always seem to be seeing something beyond what's in front of him. "She teaches me every morning, Mama, before I wake up all the way. Before the day starts, she's there. She, always she." Antonia realizes in that moment that her son isn't just having childhood fantasies. He genuinely believes someone is visiting him, teaching him, training him in the hours between sleep and waking. And from that day forward, Carlo never misses a morning. 7 years old, and he wakes up before dawn to pray the rosary. Every single day. Most parents would be thrilled to have a pious child, but Antonia is unnerved because Carlo isn't pious, he's devoted. There's a difference. Piety is learned behavior. Devotion is something deeper, something that comes from a relationship. And Carlo talks about Mary the way children talk about their best friends, with intimacy, with trust, with complete certainty that she's real. The most gracious appointment of the day, he calls it. At 7 years old, he's using phrases like that. Where does a 7-year-old learn to talk like this? Not from his parents. They barely pray. Not from school. He goes to a secular school. The only explanation is the one Antonia doesn't want to accept. Mary is actually there, actually teaching him, actually preparing him for something. But the training doesn't stop with prayer. Because the same year Carlo starts praying the rosary, he starts begging his parents for something else. Something that most children his age haven't even thought about yet. He wants his first Holy Communion. Now, not when he's older, not when the church says it's time. Now. His parents tell him to wait, he's too young. But Carlo is insistent, urgent, like he knows something they don't, like there's a clock ticking somewhere only he can hear. They eventually give in, and the moment Carlo receives the Eucharist for the first time, something shifts. From that day forward, he attends Mass every single day. 7 years old, and he has a daily appointment with Jesus in the Eucharist and Mary in the Rosary. His mother watches this transformation and doesn't understand what she's seeing. She doesn't understand that Mary is teaching Carlo to see death differently, to see it not as an ending but as a doorway, to see it as a transition to a mission that will require him to work from the other side. She doesn't understand that every morning prayer, every Mass, every moment of devotion is preparing Carlo for something that will happen in exactly 8 years. Because in exactly 8 years, Carlo will be dying, and he'll need to face that moment without fear. He'll need to see it as the beginning, not the end. And Mary knows this, even if Carlo doesn't. Not yet. But there's another piece to this training, because Mary isn't just teaching Carlo about prayer and the Eucharist, she's teaching him about love. The kind of love that sees people the way heaven sees them, the kind that serves without expecting anything in return. And that lesson starts with a homeless man on the street. Carlo is a teenager when he sees Emmanuel for the first time, a homeless man sleeping on a piece of cardboard outside a church. Most people walk past him, most people look away, but Carlo stops. And according to Rajesh Mohur, who worked for the Acutis family, Carlo doesn't just stop, he begins to cry. He is visibly shaken. He asked his mother to buy a sleeping bag so the homeless man could sleep warmly instead of on cardboard. Then he asked his parents for permission to accompany him every night to bring food to the man. Not leftovers, not spare change, hot, home-cooked meals. Carlo starts setting aside portions of his own dinner. He saves his money to buy sleeping bags and hot drinks. This becomes his routine. Every day, rain or shine, Carlo brings food to people everyone else pretends not to see. Why does he do this? Because Mary is teaching him something crucial. She's teaching him that real love is inconvenient. Real love costs something. Real love means seeing people the way God sees them, not the way society sees them. And Carlo needs to understand this kind of love because the mission Mary is preparing him for requires it. It requires a love so pure, so selfless, so complete that it can look death in the face and smile. But Carlo doesn't know he's dying. Not yet. All he knows is that Mary is teaching him, training him, preparing him, and he trusts her completely. Which is why, at age 12, when Mary gives him his life's work, Carlo doesn't hesitate. He doesn't ask why. He doesn't negotiate. He just says yes. And that yes will eventually heal a child in Brazil. By age 12, Carlo has taught himself computer programming, multiple coding languages, web design. His parents think it's typical teenage interest. But then Carlo starts combining his two worlds, the spiritual and the technological. He starts researching Eucharistic miracles, cases throughout history where the consecrated host transformed into actual human flesh and blood, where scientists ran tests and found human cardiac tissue. His mother watches him spend hours reading scientific reports, historical documents, medical analyses. Sometimes she walks past his room and hears him talking to someone, having full conversations with empty air. "Who are you talking to, Carlo?" "She's showing me which miracle to research next, Mama." Mary isn't just giving Carlo a general interest. She's giving him specific assignments, guiding him to particular miracles. Miracles with the best documentation, the most compelling evidence. The ones that will impact young people in the 21st century. And then Mary gives Carlo his mission. Create a website. Document every verified Eucharistic miracle in church history. Make it visual. Make it modern. Make it accessible to a generation that lives online. Show them that what happens at Mass isn't symbolism. It's physical, real, provable. Carlo says yes. He launches the website in 2004. He's 12 years old, and he has just committed to a project that should take decades. But here's what makes this urgent, what makes this terrifying in hindsight. Carlo will die at 15. That means he has exactly 3 years. 3 years to research, photograph, verify, code, design, and publish documentation of miracles spanning 2,000 years of church history. Why 3 years? Why is everything so urgent? Why does Mary need this done quickly? The answer is simple and devastating. Because time is running out. Because Carlo's mission on earth is short. Because whatever work he needs to complete has to be finished before October 12, 2006. That's the deadline. That's when Carlo will die. That's when the preparation ends and the real mission begins. But Carlo doesn't know this yet. He just knows Mary is teaching him, guiding him, preparing him. And he trusts her enough to let her be the only woman in his life. Which brings us back to that dinner table. To that moment when 14-year-old Carlo looks at his mother and says the words that will define everything. The family is eating dinner, normal conversation. They're talking about school, about Carlo's future, about the possibility of university, about relationships. Someone asks Carlo if he's interested in any girls at school, if he's thinking about dating, normal questions for a 14-year-old. And that's when Carlo says it, casually, naturally, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. "The Virgin Mary is the only woman in my life." The room goes quiet. Forks stop moving. His parents exchange glances. His mother's heart starts racing because she doesn't understand what he means. Is this healthy? Is this normal? Is her teenage son saying he'll never have relationships, never marry, never love anyone? "Carlo, what do you mean?" He smiles. That gentle, knowing smile he's had since he was 3 years old, standing in front of Mary's statue. I mean, she's teaching me something I can't learn from anyone else, Mama. She's showing me what real love is, the kind that doesn't need anything back, the kind that serves without expecting recognition, the kind that trusts even when you can't see the outcome. And once I understand that, really understand it, then maybe I'll know how to love other people the right way. There it is. The answer. But not the complete answer. Not yet. Because what Carlo doesn't say, what he won't say until he's dying, is this. Mary needs to be the only woman in his life because she's preparing him for something that requires undistracted devotion. Something that requires complete trust. Something that will require him to give up everything, even his own life, for a mission he won't live to see completed. You see, Mary isn't teaching Carlo to reject love. She's teaching him what love actually is. She's showing him that real love is sacrifice. Real love is service. Real love is seeing people the way heaven sees them and serving them whether it benefits you or not. She's teaching him to love like a saint, because in less than 2 years, Carlo will be a saint. He just doesn't know it yet. But time is running out faster than anyone realizes. Summer 2006. Carlo is 15. The Eucharistic Miracles website is finally finished. 3 years of work completed. The exhibition is scheduled to debut on October 4th at the Church of San Carlo Borromeo in Rome, the feast of St. Francis. Perfect timing. Carlo should be there. He should see the culmination of 3 years of work, of Mary's guidance, of his obedience. But on October 2nd, just 2 days before the debut, Carlo comes home from school feeling exhausted, more tired than he should be. His throat hurts. His parents think it's the flu, just a virus. Teenage bodies get run down. He needs rest. But the next morning, there are bruises on his arms. By October 4th, the day his website debuts, Carlo is too weak to attend. He's in the hospital. The doctors are running tests. And when they come back with the results, Antonia's world collapses. Acute promyelocytic leukemia, one of the most aggressive forms. Advanced, they caught it late. Carlo has days, maybe a week. Antonia turns to her son, expecting to see the terror she feels, expecting him to break, to scream, to demand to know why this is happening. But what she sees stops her cold. Carlo is smiling. Not pretending, not putting on a brave face, actually smiling, like this isn't a surprise, like he's been preparing for this exact moment his entire life. Mama, it's okay. She told me I wouldn't be here long. The room spins. What do you mean she told you? Mary's been preparing me for this since I was 7. I didn't know exactly when, but I knew it was coming. That's why she needed to be the only woman in my life. I needed to learn fast. Learn everything, so I'd be ready for what comes after. After, there's that word, like death isn't an ending, like it's just the next phase of the mission. And then Carlo tells his mother something that sounds impossible. Something she'll remember for 7 years, wondering if it was real or just the faith of a dying boy trying to comfort his mother. She showed me a little boy, Mama, in Brazil. His name is Matthias. He's not born yet, but 7 years from today, on October 12th, he'll be healed through me, instantly, completely. And that healing will prove to everyone that she was real, that everything we talked about was real, that I'm still working, just from somewhere else. Matthias, Brazil, October 12th, 7 years. Antonia doesn't understand what she's hearing. She doesn't care about prophecies. She doesn't care about miracles in Brazil. She just wants her son to live. But Carlo has already accepted something bigger than survival. He's accepted a mission that doesn't end with his last breath. Carlo spends his final week offering his suffering for Pope Benedict XVI and for the Church. Even dying, he's thinking of others. When nurses come to check on him, he asks them not to wake his parents because they're already so tired and he doesn't want to worry them. This is what Mary taught him. This is what the only woman in my life means. She taught him to love so purely that even in his final moments he's serving others, thinking of others, giving his suffering for others. October 12, 2006, 6:45 a.m. Carlo's breathing changes. His parents rush to his side. They're holding his hands. The rosary is wrapped around his fingers, those same beads he's been praying since he was 7 years old, those same beads Mary taught him to use in the hours between sleep and waking. Carlo's eyes open one last time, and he speaks his final words to his mother. "Mama, don't be afraid. Since Jesus became a man, death has become the passage towards life, and we don't need to flee it. Let us prepare ourselves to experience something extraordinary in the eternal life." And then he's gone, 15 years old, dead from leukemia, a boy who loved pizza and video games and computer programming, a normal teenager who happened to believe that Mary was real, who happened to trust her enough to let her be the only woman in his life, who happened to say yes to a mission he didn't fully understand. His mother sits there holding his hand, remembering Matthias, Brazil, October 12th. 7 years. Was it real? Or was it just the faith of a dying boy trying to give his mother hope? For 7 years, she waits for the answer. October 12, 2013, exactly 7 years to the day after Carlo's death. In Campo Grande, Brazil, a 4-year-old boy is dying. His name is Matthias. He was born with annular pancreas, a severe defect that makes eating impossible. He vomits constantly. He's 4 years old and weighs only 20 pounds. The doctors have told his mother, Luciana, there's no cure, no surgery can fix it. Her son will suffer his entire life. And it's killing her to watch. Then someone tells Luciana about a teenage boy from Italy who died 7 years ago. A boy named Carlo Acutis who loved the Eucharist, who built websites about miracles, who died young but whose intercession is already being reported by people around the world. She starts praying to him. Every day, every night, desperate prayers from a mother watching her child waste away. October 12, 2013, a priest named Father Marcelo Tenorio holds a service with a relic, a small piece of cloth that touched Carlo's body. Luciana brings Matthias to the church, and when the relic touches her son, she feels something, a presence, a woman she can't see, and somehow she knows it's Mary, still working through Carlo, still keeping her promise. Within hours, the impossible happens. Matthias begins eating, normally. For the first time in his entire life, no vomiting, no pain, like someone reached inside his body and reconstructed his organs. They rush to the hospital, the doctors run tests, and they go silent, because what they're seeing shouldn't be possible. The pancreatic defect isn't improved, it's gone, completely gone, no scarring, no trace, no medical explanation. And it happened on October 12th, 7 years to the day after Carlo died. The child's name, Matthias. Just like Carlo said. When the news reaches Antonia in Italy, she collapses, because her son told her the name, told her the date, told her it would be 7 years, told her it would prove everything. Word for word. Exactly as he said. And in that moment, those 7 words finally make complete sense. The Virgin Mary is the only woman in my life. Carlo wasn't rejecting love, he was accepting a teacher. Someone who would show him what love actually is in just 15 years. Someone who would prepare him for a mission that wouldn't end with death. Someone who would teach him to love so purely that he could heal a child in Brazil 7 years after dying. Mary needed exclusive access to Carlo's heart. Not forever, just 15 years, just long enough to teach him what most people never learn in 80 years, how to love without needing anything back, how to serve without expecting recognition, how to trust when you can't see the outcome, how to face death as a beginning, not an ending. That kind of preparation requires exclusivity, undistracted devotion, complete trust. And Carlo gave her that. He let Mary be the only woman in his life long enough for her to prepare him for sainthood. The Vatican investigates the healing for years. They interview doctors, examine medical records, bring in independent experts. And they declare it official, medically inexplicable, a verified miracle. In 2020, Carlo is beatified. And on September 7, 2025, he is canonized. Saint Carlo Acutis, the first millennial saint. A 15-year-old who loved pizza and video games is now officially recognized by the Catholic Church as someone definitively in heaven who can intercede for anyone who asks. His exhibition has traveled to more than 10,000 locations worldwide. His website has been viewed by millions. Matthias in Brazil is now a healthy teenager, living proof of Carlo's continued mission. And thousands of young people make pilgrimages to Assisi every year to see the body of a saint who looked like them, lived in their time, and proved that holiness isn't weird, it's just saying yes. Rajesh Mohur, the Hindu man who worked for the Acutis family, converted to Catholicism because of Carlo. He said, watching Carlo live was like already being in heaven. Antonia, Carlo's mother, experienced a profound conversion because of her son. As she said, to live close to someone like Carlo means not to remain neutral in your faith. This is what happens when you let Mary teach you. This is what the only woman in my life produces. Not isolation, not weirdness, not rejection of love. But love so pure, so complete, so selfless that it transforms everyone it touches and continues working miracles from heaven. And here's the question you need to answer for yourself. Is Mary reaching out to you the way she reached out to Carlo? Think carefully. Have you ever felt an unexpected urge to pray when you're busy? To help someone when it's inconvenient? To change something comfortable in your life? Have you ever felt a presence you couldn't explain? A peace that didn't make logical sense? That might not be random. That might be exactly what Carlo experienced at 3 years old, standing in front of Mary's statue, with tears streaming down his face. That might be Mary reaching out, teaching, preparing, calling you to a mission only you can accomplish. Carlo said yes at 3. He let Mary be the only woman in his life for 15 years. And that, yes, healed a child in Brazil, brought millions back to faith, and proved to the world that heaven is still making saints. What could happen if you said yes? What mission might you accomplish? What lives might you change? Mary is still teaching, still reaching out, still asking the same question she asked Carlo. Will you let me prepare you? Will you trust me? Will you say yes? The only woman in your life. Not forever, just long enough to learn what she needs to teach you, just long enough to prepare you for whatever mission you were created for. Carlo found her at 3. You can find her today. Will you say yes?